2025 has come and gone, and so has a lot of game playing, but which ones were the best? Well, that's what this video is here for someone's opinion who you did not ask for about what his games of the year of 2025 were. Now, I just want to preface this by saying these are the games that I played in the year of 2025 for the first time. There's a lot of games I missed out on in this year. So you won't see games like Expedition 33, Doom the Dark Ages. I actually made a list here. Donkey Kong Bonanza, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yotei, Blueprints, the new Deltarune chapters, Hollow Knight Silksong, Silent Hill F, and a bunch of other games that I missed this year. Alright, so you won't be seeing those on this list because I did not play them. The games that make this list are games I played from start to finish for the first time. So with that being said, let's get on to number 10. Number 10, Onimusha 2, Samurai's Destiny. Now, last year for my birthday, I remember playing through the original Onimusha just because I wanted to replay it, and what the hell, why not? I missed Onimusha. But then I remembered, oh wait, I have Onimusha 2 and 3, and I've never finished these, ever. Like, I've played maybe the first hour or so of them, but I've never finished them. I decided to change that with Onimusha 2, especially when I saw the announcement at the VGAs last year that a new Onimusha was in the works. I told myself, I finally gotta sit down and play these. It was pretty good, though it was a little bit challenging. Of course, the systems are pretty outdated. The voice acting was... the voice acting was something. But still, for what it was really fun to play. It was great kind of hacking and slashing through everything. I have to admit that there was a lot of backtracking done. There were some points where I had to grind for health items because the game at one point, there was kind of like that slippery slope of difficulty where it was like, I'm having fun, I'm not having fun. I'm having fun, I'm not having fun. Especially with the grindy, like, Red Palace areas. I can't remember what that area is called, Devil May Cry. But I will say the biggest thing is that I didn't really identify with the character of Jubei. Jubei looks cool. It was kind of cool to play as this character, but it's all of a sudden like, plot twist, plot twist, plot twist. It's like, oh, slow down. Where's the part where I actually identify with this character? I'm not getting that. It made me miss my boy Samanosuke more. And plus, there's the fact that you have all these new companions which are fun to, like, be with, but you don't really get to know them that well unless you do this whole mini game that the game doesn't tell you about giving them items, getting your rank up with them, so on and so forth. And apparently, there's a best ending where you can get all of them to, like, the highest affinity or something like that, and they get more involved with your stories. With me, it was just the, Gyanbu, I think his name was. For a sequel to a great game, this was a good game. It was still enjoyable, it was still fun to play. I love hacking and slashing through demons, which has me more excited for the new Onimusha coming out. But, you know, I don't know. There were some issues with it that I had that I didn't have with the first one. I guess I really wanted to like this a lot more than I did, and I just came out going with, well, that was fun, but, you know, kind of forgetting about it later. There's also the fact that, again, the game just ends abruptly. Then again, that's what happened in Onimusha 1, but this one just literally ends abruptly, and as far as I know, there's no resolution to Jubei's story in the other games or anything. And then there's also that final boss. Fuck that final boss. Oh my god. That was so rage-inducing that I had to play different music to help me get through it. And when I did finally beat the final boss, well, you guys saw what happened. Ah! Ah! Fuck yeah! Let's go! Oh god, yeah, the adrenaline was so high that I nearly collapsed. That should tell you something. And I don't mean that in a, oh, this was a fun challenge way. I mean this as a, I want him to die way. Still, if there's one thing that this game did get right, it's got me even more excited to finally sit down and play through Onimusha 3, which I will do at some point. Hopefully before the new Onimusha drops. But still, even for all its faults, I still had a fun time playing it. I just don't see myself playing it again anytime soon. Or probably ever. Number 10 goes to Onimusha 2. Number 9, the original Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, this is a game I've been wanting to play for a while too, considering that, you know, I have a Genesis Mini, I know about Sonic's history, I have Sonic Adventure 2 for my GameCube, and I thought that Sonic Adventure 2 on the Dreamcast was one of the best games I had played on that system at the time. I've always been curious about going back to where it began, and this year I decided to do that. Holy fuck, was this game tough. I'm assuming that if I grew up with Sonic and the Genesis, I didn't. I was a Nintendo fan. I would probably have an easier time with it. That was not the case. This game was tough, but it was also fun to play. I had to use level skip cheats a lot more than I cared for. But still, this was fun. Definitely a classic of the genre. Sonic's a household name. I could see why this character has endured for so many years and why he was an instant hit. Fuck those water levels, man. Fuck those water levels so hard. Oh my god, I could see why people were getting nightmare fuel by playing that section and whatnot. I guess one of my biggest complaints about the fact is that you had to collect all the Chaos Emeralds. Like, I'm probably saying something that is common knowledge to most of the Sonic mega fans out there. For somebody who did not grow up with Sonic, did not know that I had to do that in order to get the best ending in the game. I didn't do that. And usually, when I play a game like that where you have to do something to get the best ending, I usually play through it again. I didn't get that kind of feeling with Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know why. I guess it's just because I just didn't. Number 8, Peak. Now, my friend Lotzi has been playing this game so much, they kept poking and prodding me about like, hey, you gotta try Peak. You gotta try Peak. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. And so one day, I bought it during the Steam sale. And I played it with them, and holy crap, this game is a lot of fun. It's so simple, but it's so addicting with how much fun it can be, to the point where I was starting to play a little bit off stream, but I realized I wasn't having that much fun without playing with friends. Peak definitely feels like it's a lot more fun when you play it with friends, and it feels like it's a game that's definitely designed to be played with friends. You could definitely solo it, but for me personally, I feel like you need to play it with friends. And oh my god, there are so many moments during the streams I've had with playing with Peak where it's just been dramatic moments and super fun moments and poking and prodding and laughs and everything. I didn't play as much of Peak as I wanted to, and I never really finished it. I remember at one point, my buddy Lotzi and I, we got really close to getting to the Peak, and then we got screwed in like the last, I think, 15 minutes, and we couldn't make it to the top. It's a tough game. It is a tough game. A very tough game. But tough in a way that it's also fair. That's definitely something I want to play more of in the future. And, yeah, number 8 goes to Peak. Number 7, Mega Man Legends. This fucking game. This game has been on my backlog for years. I remember renting it back in the video store back in the day and liking it. I got this copy from a friend of mine years ago, but I never sat down and finished it. And this year I told myself, you know what? I'm going to sit down and finish Mega Man Legends. Now, for all intents and purposes, even for an early PlayStation game, this game is awesome. It's fun to play. I love the customization aspects and the RPG-like elements. The voice acting, even though it's super cheesy, really works for the time that it was made. Like, the voice acting still holds up pretty well, especially for a game that was made in 1998. Damn. If there's one thing I do have to mark it down for, is that, number 1, it ends on a huge cliffhanger that is explained, I'm guessing, in the sequel, which I did not expect the whole, hey, guess what? Mega Man's a genocidal robot in this game. What? What? There's also the fact that the controls are really clunky. I mean, like I said, it's a product of the time, so the idea of moving the camera around with the analog stick wasn't really there yet because PlayStation controller didn't have an analog stick at the time, so you have to use the R1 and L1 buttons to turn your character. It's pretty tough, but you kind of get used to it. I will say it's also on the shorter side, too. Like, definitely, there are some limitations because of the hardware at the time. That doesn't detract from the fact that it's still fun as hell. And it was so much fun that I want to play the sequel. The story is pretty good, even though there's not really much of one, like, until you're nearly done with the game. I guess the other kind of downside to it is that the music isn't super memorable like there is in usually most Mega Man games. When you talk about some of the greatest soundtracks of all time, Mega Man 2 and Mega Man X immediately pop to mind whenever I think of that. With this, there really wasn't that many memorable soundtracks, but there were memorable scenes. That's not a bad thing. It's just more of, when it comes to Mega Man, I expect both. But still, for what it was, being able to finally play this from start to finish was a treat, and I loved it, and it was really fun. And I cannot wait to play the sequel. I can never get my hands on a copy of that. Number 6, Mullet Mad Jack. Now, for those of you who've been following me since 2024, you all saw me play this demo during the Steam Next Fest in 2024, and this game immediately went on my wish list because of how fun it was. I had a blast playing the demo. I had an even bigger blast playing the full game. My god, this was so much fun. I haven't played a high-octane, super fast-paced roguelite FPS game like this in a long time. I think the last game I could think of where I had to have this kind of trigger finger speed was Doom Eternal. But this game, like, there's an aesthetic there that they clearly went all in on. The love of all the anime, sci-fi, you know, 80s vibes are there, and it shows, and it wears it proudly on its sleeve, and it's so much fun. The music is amazing. The story is kind of like cliched, but it's also supposed to be, because it's supposed to be a bit of a spoof on that. But it was still a ton of fun. And my god, I could listen to that main menu theme all day, man. My biggest complaint about it is an average playthrough of the game, for at least for the story version of the game, is about 3 hours. That's kind of short, but there's also endless mode. There's also some stuff added on where you can fight V1 from Ultra Kill. Also, I just realized I have been wearing my headphones for no reason. I've had nothing playing in the background. Just gonna put those down there. Sorry. But either way, there are rewards for going through endless mode, but I've tried doing some of that in my spare time, and I just get destroyed every time. But still, Mullet Mad Jack was a phenomenal indie gem, and this really was the year indie games. I mean, if you played a bunch of them, I really wish I played more indie games. I will say, though, for its length, it is a little bit pricey, so if you want to get it, I would recommend getting it during the Steam sale. But still, fun game, amazing gameplay, awesome music, and, yeah, I'm sorry, can you tell I'm not really super good at this? Number 5, Bayonetta. Now, here's a fun fact. I still have my 360 copy. Never finished my 360 copy. You know, ADHD is a son of a bitch. And I got halfway through it, never finished it. And I told myself, let's get Bayonetta 2 for the Switch. That comes with Bayonetta 1, and let's play it through on there. And this year, I finally sat down and I said, you know what? I'm going to play through this, and I'm gonna finally finish it. And I did. Holy shit. I knew this game was good. I knew this game was good because it's made by, like, you know, the ex-devs who made Devil May Cry and everything like that. And even getting halfway up through the game, even that was enough back in the day to tell me, oh my god, this game's amazing. But finally being able to revisit it and finish it, yeah. I mean, the second half of the game was just as good. Although I will say that it took me a while to readjust to that kind of gameplay style with the whole hyper-action and lightning-fast reflexes. I haven't played a third-person action game like that in a long time. Like a long time. So my reaction time was kind of a little dwindled a bit until I kind of got used to it again. But still, this game had everything. An immediately iconic protagonist. Amazing music. The Afterburner music is still some of the best music I've ever heard in a video game. It tributes to other classic Sega games. Awesome, incredible, over-the-top action sequences. The story is a little bare bones, but who the fuck cares when the game is super fun to play? Plus, that ass! This game was phenomenal. And when the final boss fight of a game ends with you punching the final boss directly into the sun, you're doing something right. So yeah, it has me even more excited to finally play through this. Bayonetta, I'm sorry it took me so long to finally finish your game, but believe me when I say, the wait was definitely worth it.
Fuck off!
Number 4, Monster Hunter Wilds. This was one of my most anticipated games of this year, because it's friggin' Monster Hunter. I mean, why not? And did it deliver? Yes. Although I do feel like this game was easier than Monster Hunter World, doesn't mean that it was any less fun to play, especially with my buddy Adam, who was responsible for getting me into Monster Hunter in the first place. First of all, the game is gorgeous to look at. The customization aspects of it are incredible. It's got some instantly iconic boss fights, especially with Arkveld and with the Equal Dragon weapon Zoshia. Let's call it what it is. The grind is super fun. The endgame content originally when the game first dropped felt like it was kind of a chore. But with the recent title updates we've been given, with the new monsters and everything, especially with the new title update we've gotten with Gogmazios, now it feels like a true endgame grind where I'm just trying to get the best stuff from my character, and that I love. So yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds met most of my expectations. Great to be hunting monsters, great to be grinding for better items and such. Great to be playing with friends and playing with people from all over the world in this game, because you can get on the game at any time and you will find somebody to play with. It's absolutely nuts. And as always, the ability to, you know, customize your own Palico is always one of the biggest highlights for me. Because kitties! And I will also say that in terms of story, from what I've understood or what I've played of Monster Hunter games, which has pretty much just been World, most of the stories are pretty bare bones where it just devolves into, oh hey, this monster's causing a problem, go kill it. Okay. This one actually tried to have a legitimate story about the whole area that it's taking place in and try to have it all tie in together. And I think for what it tried to do, most of it worked. Some of it didn't because it's kind of like, oh, why is that? But still, for a story in a Monster Hunter game, that was pretty well done. Playing with my buddy Adam and hearing him being all giddy during some parts of the story definitely tells me everything I need to know about how much he enjoyed it, especially since he's been a fan of the franchise longer than I have. Number 3, Okami. So again, another game I've had in my physical library for years, but I've never sat down and finished. And with the recent announcement of the Okami sequel that's happening at the Game Awards that was announced last year, I said, you know what? I think now's a good time to finally sit down and play this. But not this version. Oh no, I didn't want to hook up my Wii. I bought Okami HD for my Switch, and I sat down and played that, and I get it now. I get it now. I know that Okami has had a super passionate fan base for years. There's someone I know this game is her favorite game of all time. So I just said, you know what? Let me sit down, actually play through this, and finish it. Wow. Everyone keeps saying it's kind of like Capcom's Legend of Zelda, and I feel like that is a very appropriate description for this. The game was also a huge breath of fresh air for being something that was cel-shaded and having such a colorful looking world and a very unique art style with all the characters and the story. Not only was that a huge breath of fresh air in that aspect, but it was also a ton of fun. Playing against the bosses was a blast to figure out the puzzles and how to take each one of them out. I guess one of the biggest complaints I have about it is that, first of all, like, the control scheme is a little awkward, especially with the whole brush things. I mean, there are some instances where it'll work, and then, you know, when you're trying to really do things in super stressful moments, it suddenly won't. That happened a lot to me during some boss fights. It has a similar issue where, you know, it had this issue before Breath of the Wild did, where there's just so many side quests. So many side quests to the point where I'm just like, I don't really care. I want to continue playing the game. I want to get further. I want to see the rest of the story. And that to me was the most important part, the story. The story was fun, had a lot of memorable moments, had a lot of funny moments. I had a blast playing this. And I'm surprised I didn't play it on the PS2. I figured I would have loved this back in the day. And I love it now. One of the biggest complaints I have, and this is probably a complaint that a lot of other fans of the game share, is that cliffhanger end. What the hell? And the fact that they've been waiting so long for a sequel for this game to happen. Especially with how it just ends right there. It's like, dude, come on, are you fucking kidding me? You can't just blue ball me like that. I had so much fun playing that. I had a lot of laughs too. Like, I was laughing a lot during this whole playthrough. Okami's number 3, and can't wait to hear more news in the sequel. Number 2, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. You all probably thought this was going to be number 1, didn't you? No, this diehard Metroid fan is not making this game number 1 for this year. I mean, it is a good game, but it wasn't Game of the Year for me. That doesn't mean it's a bad game. Did it meet my expectations? Yes. Were there some flaws? Absolutely. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it was a good game and I had a blast playing it. Now, like you guys know, I am a huge Metroid fan. It's my number 1 franchise. So when this game got announced back in 2024, my hype was through the roof. I didn't do the thing that I usually do with games I'm really excited about, which is watching trailers repeatedly, or watching every single piece of footage, or looking at every single screenshot, or watching all the video diaries to get my excitement up, because the last time I did that, I was disappointed. But this isn't like a full review or anything like that. That'll come later. This is just why this is number 2 on my list. And that is because, while this game was worth the wait, there were some flaws. First of all, Metroid. That alone just made me super happy to play it. It looked incredible for a Switch game. Like, this is probably the best looking Switch game I've played, like, ever. Holy shit, I didn't even know the Switch 1 was capable of this. The world and the visuals were beautiful. Again, a feast for the eyes. Being able to be in Samus's visor again was incredible. However, ultimately, and I've said this before to many people, the game played it safe, which I understand. It's been 18 years since Prime 3. Retro Studios had to restart development on this, and essentially this is what we got. The fact that we got something that was this good, wasn't perfect, but it was this good, is a testament to Retro Studios in general. One of my biggest complaints was, it was playing it very safe. It's like, okay, you got a fire area, you got a jungle area, and you've got an ice area. And that's about it. The desert area, while it was vast, I didn't mind it so much. I do wish that more fast travel was implemented, especially since it was used in Dread. Felt like the controls were kind of switched around a bit, but that doesn't change the fact that I still really enjoyed this game. It was worth the wait. I had a blast playing this. I loved the NPCs because I felt like they really added to the world, and they even made sense to be there story-wise, even though Metroid is more famously known for being a game about isolation and trying to survive on your own. And I will say that probably one of my biggest complaints is that the game just ends. The ending is so abrupt, which is weird for a Metroid game, especially since every Prime game usually has some sort of ending there, or there's an extended ending you get if you get like 100% with collecting items and scan logs. But still, this game met most of my expectations. It was a blast to play, even though there were some areas that kind of felt like a chore. Remember how I said before about in Sonic the Hedgehog where I finished it, but I had no desire to go back and replay it and get like a full 100% ending? With this game, I do feel that. I cannot wait to go back and replay this and get 100% items and try to fill out all the scans so I can unlock more things. I was so excited for this that once again, I bought a physical copy and a digital copy. So once again, great game, even though it was flawed. And I don't mean flawed as in like, oh, a glitch here and there. I mean flawed as in there were moments where it just made me go, huh? Like, what? It felt like Metroid Prime 2 echoes, where a lot of the backtracking felt like a chore. Instead of just being like, oh, let's see what happens when we use this item with this area and open up the world more. It's more like, okay, let's just go back here and da-da-da-da-da. And I feel like that was the game's biggest sin. But that doesn't detract from the fact that it's still a great game, great enough to be number 2 on my Game of the Year list. And now, my Game of the Year for 2025 is... Holy shit. Now, let me explain something to you guys. I built my gaming rig specifically to stream that game and Doom Eternal back in 2019, 2020. Because Cyberpunk 2077 was like on my most wanted list. I was extremely excited to play that next to Final Fantasy VII Remake. And as you guys know, then the game came out and it was received less than stellar. But I told myself, you know what? I feel like if they get enough time, they will turn things around. And here we are 5 years later, and holy shit, I say this with no sense of irony or anything. This is one of the greatest games I've ever played. I mean, yes, I encountered glitches and everything like that, and some moments that kind of brought me out of it, but that kind of added to the charm of the game. The story is incredible. And when I thought I knew it was going one place, it went 5 different others. And the fact that the opening first act of the game is pretty much just a tutorial blew my fucking mind. This is a game where it did not hold your hand. It was unapologetic with how mature it is. The music, immediately incredible. I remember as soon as I heard that main menu theme, I immediately found the soundtrack and just listened to it because, oh my god. If there's one thing that absolutely stands out in this game, other than, you know, the crazy weaponry, the open world, was every single conversational choice you've been given, a majority of them at least, I'd like to say at least 80%, are some of the hardest choices you can make in a conversation. Now, what do I mean by this? Mass Effect has always had a very clear, oh hey, Paragon answer, a renegade answer. Like, you know, do you want to be a nice guy or do you want to be an asshole? The conversation choices in Cyberpunk 2077 do not feel like that. It feels like no matter what you choose, there's some of the hardest choices you get, especially towards like the middle of the game and the end of the game when you're trying to decide the fates of some characters. I remember I would sit here and just mull over decisions for like a good 10-15 minutes going, I don't know what the fuck to pick. And I gotta give it credit for the fact that I'm not gonna spoil too much here, but I gotta give it credit for the fact that it does not end happily ever after, everything's okay ending. I gotta give him credit for that. But also, the world of Night City was so inviting that I made sure I did every single side quest in that game because, first of all, they were so much fun to do. Second of all, just figuring out different ways of how you can play each area, the freedom to figure out how much you could do was enthralling. And also, playing all the side quests really allowed me to learn more about these characters in this world. It was incredible. It was one of those things where after the credits rolled, I remember just sitting there in like 5-10 minutes going, wow. Cyberpunk 2077 is one of those games where the first time you play through it, you just sit down, you just think about that experience, and it just changes you. It's one of those video games that's like, this is why people make fucking video games. And of course, Pan Am. Pan Am is love. Pan Am is life. Oh, and then there's Phantom Liberty. Talk about adding on to this already delicious cake that you're eating and just adding a like more cream or more ice cream or just more sweets to it that makes you go, holy shit, this can get even better. I didn't think that the Phantom Liberty DLC would be on par with the base game, but it was. So much so that I remember just like, oh wow, this just intricately weaves into the story as if it should have been there the whole time. I really got to give credit to CDPR for taking what could have just stayed a simple broken mess of a game and making it what it is right now. Like I said, this is not only my game of the year, it's one of the greatest games I've ever played. Like, holy shit, dude. I could talk about Cyberpunk 2077 until I'm blue in the fucking face. Because, holy shit, man, like, that is a game that everybody needs to try. Everybody. And it was one of those games, too, where I did all the endings just to see them. And I did the game with one build, and now I can't wait to go through it again with a completely different V and a completely different build and play it a completely different way. I love a game that encourages, if you didn't try it this way, try it this way. Try it some other way. Just have fun. If there's one thing I have to complain about, it's the fact that the Phantom Liberty DLC, the new area, it really didn't feel as inviting to explore. Like Night City, I wanted to explore nearly all nooks and crannies of that and like really see a lot of what was going on. Dogtown just felt like, okay, this is nice, I guess. I guess Dogtown just felt so small by comparison and so generic looking with how it was, but I guess it was kind of the point too. But still, the story of Phantom Liberty was just as good as the base game. I could keep talking about Cyberpunk, about how much it not only met my expectations and my hype, it exceeded them to the point where it was in the stratosphere with how much it was blowing me away. I guess what I'm trying to say is Cyberpunk 2077, my game of the year for 2025, and legitimately one of the best games I've ever played. And that's saying a lot. And that's it for my games of the year of 2025. What was your game of the year? Was it on my list? Was it not? And not only do we have a bunch of games to look forward to in 2026, but I still got a huge backlog I gotta go through. So, I'm interested to see what we'll play in 2026. But that's going to be it for me gaming-wise for 2025. As always, everybody, take care of yourselves, keep on loving and laughing, and most importantly, be excellent to each other. I'll see you next time. Later.